So today we're going to talk a little bit about analyzing a myth. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time going back through and explaining what significance means or what staying power means, what functional importance is. If you're confused on that, remember you can go back to your notes, and there's also the Ed puzzle, or not the Ed puzzle, the videos that I made where it says analyzing a myth part 1 and analyzing a myth part 2. You can go back and watch those if you're feeling stuck as well. So we're actually going to get into what is our assignment going to look like. So I'm going to let you know that as we work through the Greece unit, a lot of days our do now is going to be to analyze a different myth. And it's going to look pretty much the same every time. So the way that it'll work, if we start off like if we are in modules or whatever, so you go to Mr. Seymour's class, and then everything is in modules. So we're going to go to modules. Okay. And I will need to change the date, but I'll do that later since we're recording. But when you come to class, right, you'll click on the classwork for whatever day, and then you'll see a link to analyzing a myth due now. So you're going to click that, and that's how class is going to kind of start, right? And so once you get there, you're going to have the little quiz, okay? And the quiz is going to be organized the same every time as well. So the instructions part is going to be pretty much the same. We're going to have our directions on how to do the quiz. And then you are going to have the myth for the day, okay? So that's going to be the first thing that you're going to see. You with me so far? Does that make sense? Excellent. Then we're going to kind of jump into it. So I want to give you a chance to kind of read the myth. So everybody should be on this page where we've clicked the link, and you should see the instructions part up, or that screen where it tells you to begin. So if you look, your directions say today we will be analyzing a myth. You will need to read the myth below. As you read, decide if the myth has significance and staying power. If you don't remember what those terms mean, look back through your notes, answer the questions in the drop-down menu and the written response portions. I don't want you answering any questions today. We're actually going to do this together so everybody knows what Mr. Seymour is looking for, okay? But I do want you to just take a minute and read Prometheus and the Theft of Fire. So you're just going to read Prometheus and the Theft of Fire and then stop. Any questions? Okay, so we're going to go through and we are going to try to show that this is a myth. And if it is, great. If not, that's okay too. So we had a chance to kind of look through and read the story. So Prometheus and the Theft of Fire. One day, Zeus distributed gifts to all of the gods, but he didn't care much for humans. The Titan Prometheus, however, because he loved and felt sorry for humans, climbed up on Olympus and stole fire from Hephaestus's workshop, put it in a hollow reed, and gifted it to humans. This way, humans could create fire, warm up, and make tools. Zeus became very angry when he heard about this. He took Prometheus to a high mountain, the Caucasus Mountains, and chained him on a rock with thick chains made by the blacksmith god Hephaestus. And every day, Zeus would send an eagle that ate Prometheus's liver. Now, this version of the story doesn't say this, but what happened was Prometheus was chained to this rock and he couldn't move. And every day the eagle would come and peck out his skin and eat his liver. And then every night, Prometheus's liver would grow back. And then the next day, the same thing would happen. This eagle would tear at his flesh, tear through his skin, tear through his muscles to get to his organ, and then eat his liver. And then every night, it would grow back again. Okay? For 30 years, Prometheus remained bound in the Caucasus until the great hero Hercules, Zeus's demigod son, released him finally from his torment. So that's our myth, or that's our story. We have to show that it is a myth. So remember, if we look here, I guess it's not a remember. If you look at question number 1, what does question number 1 say? If you haven't clicked begin yet to begin, you could go ahead and do that. Hold on. So you don't have to hold this next to your mouth or anything like that. Yeah, go ahead. What does question number 1 say?
What kind of significance does the myth have?
Thank you. What kind of significance does the myth have? So, as we kind of look through our story, does this story have how the world came to be significance? Yes or no? No. What do you think?
They don't, because they didn't tell us what it was about or anything.
Okay. So no, yeah, this myth did not have how the world came to be significance. Because is this story teaching us how the planets were created? No. Right? So, what about how the world works significant? So does this story teach us something about the actual earth itself and things that the earth does? No. Right? Now, what about how something came to be? Does this story teach us how something got on earth? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, right? What is this teaching us? What's the thing that got on earth in this myth?
Titan guy.
I don't know if we can redo it. So what did the Titan give to humans? Fire. So this myth is explaining how fire got to earth, how people learned how to create fire, right? So this story does have how the world came to be significance, okay? Now, if you look at question number 2 is going to ask you, what evidence from the story shows that we were correct in number 1? So if we look back through the story, what is our evidence that it has how something came to be significance? So scroll back up to the story. How do we know that this shows something got on earth? Yeah.
It shows how the Titan, whatever his
Prometheus?
name is, how he felt bad for the humans, so he went to
Hephaestus.
his workshop and got fire and gave it to a hollow thingy and gave it to the humans.
Yeah, thank you. So, here's what our answer should look like for this, right? So if you look at what I put up here, this myth explains how humans learn to make fire, right? That's what this myth teaches. It teaches us how people learn how to make fire. They learned it from Prometheus. Now remember, the question says, what is your evidence from the story? So you have to find the quotes or the part of the story that prove and support what you were saying. So in the story, how do we know that this story is about how humans got fire? What is our proof? Just a second. Yeah, so what's our proof that you saw from the evidence? What's our evidence?
In the what's it called? On the second sentence, it says the Titan Prometheus, however, because he loved and felt sorry for humans, climbed up to Mount Olympus and stole the fire from Hephaestus' workshop, put it in a hollow reed, and gifted it to humans.
Thank you. Yeah, that's our evidence, right? You can't really refute that this story is teaching us how humans learn to make fire when it says right there. Awesome. So if you didn't get a chance to get this typed in, you could go ahead and do that now. I'll pause this for just a second so you get that first part done. But we're going to have to move kind of quick. Remember, the important part here isn't just saying what the significance is. You have to have your evidence from the story so that we know what you're talking about. I really liked how you had not only read the quote, but you said what sentence it was. That was really good. So then, the third question. Is this story at least 200 years old? Yeah, it's from ancient Greece. So yeah, it's at least 200 years old. And remember, to have staying power, a story has to be old and it has to have functional importance. So we have proven that the story of Prometheus and the theft of fire has significance. It has how something came to be significant. We have proven that it is old. So if we can show that it has a moral or a lesson that ancient Greeks would have understood, then we could say it's a myth. So if we look, our next question, what is the functional importance of this story? And remember, when we think about functional importance, the question we need to ask ourselves, what is the moral or unspoken lesson that helped people to live better lives? Okay? So was there something in this story that would have helped people to be better friends, better husbands, better wives, better Greek citizens? Is there something that they could have learned to make them a kinder or a better human being? Okay? This part is kind of the hardest part, which is why I want to take a little bit of time to make sure we all understand it together. So I'm going to scroll. Oops, let's see. So we'll have to go back to the story. Actually, I could just do this. Okay? So if we look at the story, this is the part where we have to stop and think about it and really analyze what's going on. So, one day, Zeus distributed gifts to all the gods, but he didn't care much for humans. So, is it important to know that Zeus doesn't like people? Yeah, that's going to be important, right? So, Zeus didn't care much for humans. So we have one deity that doesn't like people very much at all. The Titan Prometheus, however, because he loved and felt sorry for humans. So, Prometheus, how does he feel about people? Right? He loves and feels sorry for humans. So you've got one deity that doesn't like humans, one deity that does. He climbed up Mount Olympus and he stole the fire, right? So now, if I'm thinking about this, is stealing legal? No. So really, Prometheus is doing something wrong, something that's not okay, right? He's stealing. That's not okay. He put it in a hollow reed and gifted it to the humans, right? This way, humans could create fire to warm up and make tools. So remember, Prometheus feels bad for humans because before they had fire, They were out here freezing and cold and couldn't warm up. They couldn't make tools, right? He felt sorry for them because they couldn't survive. Zeus became very angry when he heard about this. He took Prometheus to a high mountain, the Caucasus, and chained him on a rock with thick chains made by the blacksmith god Hephaestus. So Zeus became very angry. And what did he do because he was angry? Chained him to a rock, and what else? Right? And he made it a bird that ate his liver. Now, that's a pretty harsh punishment, isn't it? Do you think Prometheus knew he was going to get in trouble for stealing the fire? Yeah, but he did it anyway, didn't he? Right? So, when we put all that together, because remember, the cool thing about morals and stories is that they can be different for different people. There's not just one right answer, right? Some people might hear this story and say, you know what? Prometheus got what he deserved because he stole. So for some people, the functional importance might be, don't do the crime if you can't do the time, right? Don't do something illegal if you don't want to get punished for it. You say? Okay. Now, is that the only moral that you could take from this story? Yeah. No. And what were you going to share earlier quickly?
Stretching.
Oh, okay. No. Right? You might read this story and say, wow, Prometheus loved people so much, he was willing to get in trouble to make sure they could be safe. Right? And so that might be the moral that helps you to live a better life. Sometimes you have to do bad things to help the people you love to stay safe. Right? So with the moral of the story, they can change. Or not change, but they'll be different for different people. But does this story have functional importance? Does it have a lesson that Greeks would have learned? Yes or no? Yeah. Right? And there are lots of different examples. So the one that I put was, you have to be willing to sacrifice for those you love. Hephaestus loved people. He had to be willing to sacrifice in order to help them to stay safe. Okay? Once you get that typed in, you may begin to pack up. Bell's going to be ringing in just about a minute here. Okay? So if we look really quickly, number 5, that's where I go into a little bit more detail about number 4, right? This is where I used information from the text to support. And so, yeah, I'll go back. Although you won't have time to get that typed in. You need 4 too? Yeah. You can hold off on submitting this because I want to make sure we understand how to do the last part. So once you get number 4 typed, you may begin packing up because the bell's going to be ringing here in about a minute. So, was 6 true? Were we able to show that this story had significance? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, we were. Were we able to show that this story is at least 200 years old? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Right? And we were able to show functional importance. So true. Prometheus is a myth.